Hello all, welcome to our first video for CBSE board exam. Today we'll review syllabus for both class 11 as well as 12. We will look at last couple of year question paper and then we will take one sample coding question and we'll try and see that what you can expect in your exam and what kind of skill you need to develop to score well in these kind of programming related questions. I am just reviewing class 11 syllabus because part of it is interlinked with your 12. Primarily, if you look at your syllabus in Python, that is split across 11 and 12, and same is the case with your 12th. Um, these are first or second time for many of you, any computer science related course. This could be first time introduction, and CBSE uh, is trying to cover broad set of topics that can help you transition well into many of connected skills that you need to do well in today's job related skill sets, either through your next level of courses in engineering or data science or other courses where you might be having certain components. So that way, uh, syllabus coverage is primarily basic. In many a time, they have tried covering some of the basic topics, some of the basic concepts in that topic, and then trying to expand uh, to certain level where you can use them to solve certain kind of problems. So, if you look at your uh, overall syllabus, so they have just introduced something where they will actually finally nudge you to think about how you can write program when you have some kind of problem statement in mind. For those of you who don't know what computer programs are, uh, that will be multi-step instruction uh, in a language that computer understands. And during this course, there will be two variation. One will be on using Python, and another will be using SQL. Uh, in uh, so if you look at overall coverage, they have tried covering basic introduction, some actually idea about what data types are, and then certain actually early level introduction of how you can start writing set of steps that we'll call algos. And then there are basic courses around computer system architecture that gives you some idea, because computer systems like the laptop or phone or personal computer, whatever you are having, these instructions that we are calling program, these multi-step instructions will be executed. And when you will execute, eventually there are certain set of components that will actually do those computation for you. So just to provide you some kind of connect, uh, the team CBSE has done a great job in kind of bringing basic introduction about those components as well. So that's why I think you have syllabus around, uh, how what kind of uh, numbers or what kind of things, right, computer understand. And from there on, they have tried expanding it to the level where they can find some overlap between the set of instruction called programs that you are providing, their execution, and then how certain kind of results that you get uh, could be done in a well understood format for a beginner level or first level course on computer science. And then actually, topics around cyber ethics, safety, and cyber crime. So they're more like, from awareness perspective, uh, and they're again very, very important, both from because there'll be some question in your exam, as well as, from some sort of practical knowledge that could help you avoid many of those cyber crime related things, or make you be aware of that. The last topics, in class exam 11, right? So those are primarily about making you sort of sensitive towards societal norms. So in this syllabus, uh, we will not delve too much in computer system and organization as well as society law and ethics. We primarily focus on major topic, that is computational thinking and programming one, because the way we will actually schedule our videos, that will be actually sort of looking at the basics of Python, which will be covered as per your 11th syllabus, and then we will take actually relevant section of class 12, and then we'll try and solve some common problems to develop key skills, and then try and solve your previous year question paper. So from that perspective, uh, in your computational thinking and programming, uh, so first few topics are more about making you aware of some terms, right? So you can see here algorithm, coding, testing, and debugging, right? So algorithm, you can actually, broadly you can understand more like set of instructions that solves certain uh, aspect of a given problem, either fully or partially. And when you codify it in a given language, that's what you can term broadly as a coding. Now, whenever you are ready with a program, you would like to kind of test it whether it is working. It might be working in certain scenario. It might have not captured certain corner cases. So that will be discovered during the phase that is called testing. And from there on, if the problem this if this elbow is not working on expected line, you will debug and fix it. So around this, there are introduction about flowchart and pseudocode, and how you will actually kind of codify it in a uh, set of graphical notions. So we will actually try and cover certain aspect of it, not too much detail, but we'll actually be reviewing it before we move to problem solving and your previous year problem solving questions. The set of things that we'll be covering in depth, that will be the Python programming part. And here, uh, if you see your class 11 syllabus, they have introduced the hello world, right? The first very simple program is a kind of execution, both like interactive as well as script mode. And then, you know, uh, about Python, right? What are the characters, tokens, right? So broadly the set of operator, punctuators, literals, identifiers that you can use, variables, and then concept of L value and R value, right? So what could be on left side of your equal statement, what could be on right side, stuff like that. And then it actually introduces your data types, so integer, floating point, complex, your boolean, then which is actually 0 or 1 or true or false, and then sequences which are string, list, and tuple, right? Then the concept of non, which you might be knowing more like null in typical uh, language, dictionary, and then what is mutable and immutable data types. So we'll be covering this at least in to some extent, just to ensure that uh, even if you have studied them long before, it kind of provides you some good refresher. From there on, there are introductions about operators. So both arithmetic operators like plus, minus, into, divisors, right? Uh, then relational operators, so less than, equal to, greater than, not equal to. Then you have logical operators, assignment, augmented assignment operators, identity operators, whether it is this null or not, is this number or not, those kind of things, and membership operators, in or not in. So when you are having something like a list or dictionary or set or something, set of a statement that can help you check whether that particular member is present or not. From there on, there will be broader coverage about expressions, right? Uh, and there we'll actually see type conversion. So how you can convert a float into an integer, and what exactly that mean. And then actually, there will also be precedence of operators. So if they are actually not with proper parentheses, in what order they'll be executed. So we'll see at least some examples of that. How an expression will be evaluated, explicit and implicit conversion, data accessibility, and displaying on console or output. From there on, there will be introduction about syntax, logical, and runtime errors that you'll typically see while executing the programs, and then flow of control related introduction. Eventually, we'll be having if-else and variation of it, uh, and using that, a first program about sorting three numbers, or finding absolute value, or testing divisibility of a number. Then it will actually introducing loop, range, variations of loop that could be while, for break and continue statement, right? Then nesting of loops, uh, pattern generation. So more like how you can generate, say increasing star or some other variations around that. Then you might be aware in your 10th or 12th math syllabus, right? Your arithmetic progression or geometric progression series. So then there will be attempts to kind of writing those programs. Then fighting factorial of a positive numbers, right? So factorial n, right? N into n minus 1 and some of those things. So we'll see actually implementation of couple of these things. Then introduction about strings, finding all of those, introduction of built-in one, and then available in a specific libraries, right? So everything around, capitalizing title, lower, upper, whether it contains digit, alpha, alphanumeric, splitting it by, certain conditions, partitioning it, replacing it, all of that. Then, again, introduction of list. So we'll see what all operations are available, right? How you can get min, max, sum, how you can actually, have count, insert, extend. So, some of the common operations around list is, insert at certain position, delete from certain position, or appending, and many of these things. Then there will be introduction of tuple, and it will also relate with your, whether it will be table or not, and how it can be used for dictionaries. And then the introduction of dictionary. The dictionary is also a map more like key value pair, right? So uh, wherever you need to have, right, it's like your class, right? So say if you have to organize your name of students by your section, so you can have your section as a key A, B, C, D, and then all the students in section A as value out there. Right? So you could have both the variation, single or multiple, right? As value. And then typical operations about finding the length, keys, values, the items, right? Uh, and then many others about how you can get min max, set defaults, and sort it out. And then actually it will eventually introduce import and talk about some of the math related modules or packages. Right? So this will be your class 11th, which will actually will cover to the extent we can connect with your class 12 syllabus. We will not get into practical part of fiber, because right now we are mostly limiting ourselves for board related scoring mechanism. So our major focus will be kind of focusing more on what it would be tested. But from programming perspective, we will actually cover some of the suggested programming. These are actually mentioned here. You can also recognize them from your math class. Okay. We will actually be following NCERT syllabus and recommended CBSE websites. So this is very important because this is an introduction and first time course for many of you, and there are tons of material about computer science courses. So the idea will be kind of sticking to set of recommended sources so that you kind of learn and apply it at least in the context you are expected for your 11th and 12th exam. So in 12th actually, or primarily if you see on Python side, right, they have introduced the concept of function, file handling, and then they have introduced a couple of data structures that we have to implement and use. So a stack they have mentioned here, but I think list queue is something that we'll definitely see. And the additional part of the syllabus is around computer networks and introduction to SQL, as well as calling SQL code from Python. So SQL and database, right? If these terms are kind of you are hearing it first time, database is something primarily if you see whenever you are doing some kind of transaction, right? So if you see the shop that you might be visiting or your attendance register, assuming it is not digital, those were actually kind of recorded, in say some ledgers, right? Where there will be entries about the date, certain kind of transaction done, right? And if you see, there will be some unique identifier. So say the date of transaction, for example, for your attendance. And then there will be entries against your name and whether present or absent. So, whenever you have to refer those ledgers in your from computer perspective, the exact representation comes through database. So you can assume that your attendance register and many things like that can be stored as database construct, and typically one set of physical representation can be done through one set of what we call as table. So if you talk about your attendance register, it will be your entries about date, name, and present or absent. Sorry. And then SQL is a language that can help uh, query it. So basically, you can write certain set of syntax using which you can query those tables. And many a time when you are writing some Python code, you need to refer back to databases, right? Say for example, if you want to now make a as one of your project where you have digital registers, right? And then your class teacher needs to check at the end of the day who all was absent on a given date, right? So then they can actually, refer to that table, which is actually representation of your attendance register, and then write certain syntax and certain command so using SQL syntaxes that can help fetch and then aggregate your data to answer questions like who all were not absent last Thursday, right? So we'll also be having some focus where we talk about basic connectivity, that how you can connect to your databases and fire queries from your Python interface. So we'll talk about some certain component, and SQL also will be covering in some of our next videos. So more detail about it, they have covered, function calling, and there are many other things about what are user-defined functions, what are built-in functions, right? And from there on, how you can pass parameter, what are positional parameters, variable you might be aware by this time, say x is equal to 10, right? So now from there on, wherever you need to refer to 10, right, you can actually use that variable x, right? How it helps is many a time, maybe 10 needs to be, say 10 represents interest rate, right? Today it is 10%, but tomorrow it is 12. So that's how it changed, right? So you might be having x is equal to 10 initially, and then say for, based on certain condition, you will say that x is equal to x plus 2. So, all the places where you are referring x as an interest rate, you don't have to explicitly be aware where it is 10 or where it is 12. So that's why actually, that's the concept of variable. And when you talk about a function, it might be when it is inside the function, uh, by default it will be, kind of in local scope, means inside and exclusively available for only that extent of the function. And whenever you have to access something with the same name or different name from outside that function, there has to be, some resolution if need be. So that's why we talk about global and local scope. Uh, Now, many a time, if you are not dealing with databases, you are dealing with, individual files. And when you open, you might be introducing, you might be having some errors, erroneous scenarios. So this exception handling will primarily talk about, how can handle variety of exception, about files, about, error condition, executing your code, and many other things. And then actually there will be introduction about, CSP. Primarily we'll use CSP, so we'll actually see that about, in depth. And various mode, and that we'll see when we actually reach there. Uh, Computer network will see the syllabus when we cover up. Same will be the SQL one. Again, if you look at, here in your class 12, I think which many of you will be going right now, writing programs and, something that connects SQL. So there are some suggested programs. Don't know whether you guys have already done it. But we'll definitely be covering some of it while, we go through our practical tips for individual Python topics. We'll definitely be suggesting covering, the SQL part of it. And as again we discussed earlier, we'll be focusing more on computer NCRT computer science textbook, as well as on the recommended materials from CBSE website. Uh, so with this, allow me a few more minutes where, what we can do is uh, review some of you, you know, uh, last couple of years question papers, right? Just let me open that. So here, what I have done is we have just looked at, couple of year, last couple of year question papers, and the idea is to, kind of give you some sort of aggregated view, right? That uh, what you can expect in your board exam, right? So before I actually delve into uh, some of these, right? Uh, there has been some subtle variation across last couple of year question paper, but broadly the organization has been actually more like dividing your question paper in multiple section, and in several of your last year paper the pattern has been more like 1 mark MCQ question broadly in section A, then 2 mark very short answer question in section B, then short answer question for 3 marks, typically 5 question in section C, then long answers 4 question, 2 question 4 marks, and you know case based, passage based, long answers, you know uh, 3 5 marks each. That has been into section E. So sort of 15, 8, 15, 14, and 18. So that's what actually your 70 marks, right, in your theory board exam. Now, typically, if I look at, I'll show you two broader snapshot, and this is actually question paper 24 and some of the supplementary in that year. And the way your syllabus has been that in your section A, there were 18 MCQs, and the topic that was covered was more like Python data types, operations and function, SQL commands, and HTML tags, right? Mostly they are actually true or false. The example being tuple is a mutable data type in Python or not. So don't worry if you are not still aware of tuple. We'll talk about it. But that's how you see a question, right? Tuple is a mutable data type, yes or no, true or false, right? Or MCQ based on operations or code prediction. So you might be given snippet of code and you might be asked about the output. And the same will be similar extensions for SQL commands. Um, in very short answer questions, either there are a small Python and SQL queries where you have to interpret the output, or there are broadly questions from your networking uh, or other theory based key concept definitions, right? So from your networking and other syllabus. So like difference between HTTP and FTP, or write Python function to search a name in a list, right? So given a list, how you can search an individual name, right? Then short answer questions, right? About Python code, there are string manipulation related questions, right? So mostly about manipulating strings in some way or the other. We'll see some example of that. And then working with other data structures as per your course syllabus as SQL queries. So these are the broadly you can expect in your exams. And I think group I was the one in SQL query that was tested more often than other topics. In long answers, there were detailed Python program and SQL queries. So for example, write Python function to count words in a text file, right? So you have to choose a right data structure and then process the text word wise, and then develop a code to see this output, and then SQL query for altering a table. So those were the other topics tested. In section E, which are actually 5 marks question, uh, there were actually case studies involving both Python and SQL, and primarily about file handling and database operations. So then we are asked to either write SQL queries to manipulate table, or we are asked to write Python based on the case study. So we might even go through some of your question paper and uh, see some of the specific questions that were asked. Uh, so these are mostly aggregation by different type, whether MCQ or assertion reasoning. Assertion reasoning is there will be some statement and region given, and then you have to make a choice based on given conditions. So mostly SQL. So I think what can prepare you well for this course. The theories are relatively simple. We have to just go through your NCRT books, and we will also be having a specific videos. Uh, and then the major part that you have to focus is build some skill while where you can actually use that to write code. So I think that is going to be important. So what we covered in this video for your CBSE board exam is we just reviewed your class 11 and class 12 uh, uh, syllabus. We also reviewed uh, you know some of the aggregation across your past year question paper, so that you have some idea what to expect in actual exam. And uh, then we can actually uh, go through some of the typical questions, right, asked in your past year exam, and we'll conclude this section. uh, just give me a minute. I'll open your last year previous paper. So this is one of your uh, last couple of year question paper, right? And now there are 14, 15 pages, but we'll just quickly. So this is the supplementary one, So question paper code and S is representing supplementary. So here, if you see in section A, right, there are 18 question 1 marks each. Section B, very short answer. C, short answer 3 marks. D, long answers 4 marks. And section E, which is case based or passage based, that contains 5 marks. So broadly, as you can see, right, in Python, tuple is mutable. I think this is the paper that we are actually looking at it. So that you can answer, right? You know that tuple is immutable, right? So you have to just state true or false. What is primary key, right? So the primary key is selected from the set of, right, candidate keys, yes, right? So there could be one or more possible keys, and you have to make one of the choices. What will be output of the following statement? So you can see this is actually more about test your ability to understand the expression type and in what order it will be executed. So you might see 6 plus 5 by 4 squared 2, that there are uh, operators telling 5 plus 8, right? So you should be able to identify, right, which part will be executed first in which order. So we'll actually see some of these while we cover your post syllabus. Then the next one is, you are being asked to look at your ability to understand string related manipulation. So it is concatenating text and next, and then stripping T. So from each way, right, left, all the trees. So you have to this test your ability to know the functionality of built-in function is tree, right? Well, now from here on I'll just kind of scroll through, because we'll anyway. So this is pretty important if you see one of our statistics related question 9, right? So it is testing what is the mode. So I mean this actually when you actually need to know that uh, what output you can expect from mode, but even you can answer it from your the general knowledge from your stat, right? So something which is repeated most number of times. So if you see here, 10 is having 3 repetition, 30 is having 2 repetition, and 20 is having 1 repetition, right? So your answer will be C, 10. What we will do, so again, you can see, right, your code snippet, and you are asked for answer, things like that. You can actually go through this paper from CBSE, or we'll actually be uploading it in our videos so that you can have a look. We'll be having, I think, at least 6 paper, both supplementary and normal, from 22, 23 and 24. So broadly, if you see, right, you will be tested on your programming skills. So you actually, if you have basic understanding and clarity on Python and SQL syntax, as well as just the basic idea about packages being used, then you can actually score very high. Because other than that, you are having a small theories, right? Um, so table connection, right? Some of those things. Uh, So broadly, I think if you between SQL and Python-related programming skill, that covers bulk part of your scoring area, right? Uh, so see, for example, this question number 32. We'll spend some time on this, and we'll be definitely be covering this. If you are going through this video of mine right now, you may try and uh, you know code it, right, and see what kind of output you are getting, and we'll definitely be attempting it in our one of our subsequent videos. So just to read through it, Mr. Mahesh, a Python programmer working in a school, he has to maintain the record of sports student. He has created a CSV file named sports.csv to store the details. The structure of sports.csv is sport ID, competition, and prize on. Where sport ID is sport ID, and which some numeric identifier. Competition is name of the competition. Prize on is actually one of gold, silver, or bronze. Mr. Mahesh wants to write the following user-defined function: add detail. To accept the detail of a student and add to CSV file sports.csv. Count medal to display the name of competition in which students have won gold medal. So help in writing the code of both these functions. Right. So to add detail, right, of an student, right. So what you need to know, you are having here a sport ID, competition, and price on, and then this has to be actually sort of extended, right, for new students, right. So this will be more like your ability to uh, transform your data in this format and append this in file, right. Count medal will be an UDF where uh, you have to aggregate, right. So it's more like you read through the competition sports or CSV file, and then uh, you actually go through. So basically store your uh, competition, right. So basically what you have to answer here, name of the competition which students have won gold medal, right. So you keep reading through the sports or CSV file and have an representation, maybe in a dictionary format, right. So you can have use a sport ID, and then you can have competition as well as prize on, and then from there on what you can do, you can write simple iteration where whenever you see the prize on is gold, you keep adding that in competition, and then you sort of return that or print it, right. And you can actually make it it more faster. So how frequently this has to be answered, depending on that, maybe you read through it, and then uh, have gold, silver, and bronze as a key, and then against these you store the name of the competition, right. So that way whenever you have to answer for gold or for silver or for bronze, you correctly return all of the competition. So you have several uh, freedom, right. And I think either of those answers could be correct, right? So work through this. We'll actually have look at another Python program, right, in 4 marks. So 4 marks is done. It's mostly SQL here. Uh, so for example, writing count words, right, to read content from a file decode.txt, right, and return the occurrence of those words which are having 5 or more characters, right. So again, read the file, you know, uh, tokenize it at word level, store it at dictionary format, and then based on filter, you can return it. So you can go through many of these, and our scope will be in these videos, right, in subsequent videos, will be once we actually review your basic syntax, right, we will start attempting many of these actual previous year questions, and also take additional set of questions that helps bring you efficiency uh, in terms of answering these kind of questions. So thanks for watching this video. uh, uh, you can subscribe this channel for more videos on this topic, and in next video we'll actually be covering your basic detail on Python. Thanks.